Hello, moms out there, whether you're a first time mom, maybe a second or third time mom, you're all welcome here. I am Mary Joan Brinson, and I want to offer some more tips and strategies for managing your relationship when you bring a new baby into the family. It is very common for relationships to struggle. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's actually research that shows that relationship satisfaction can sharply decline when a new baby comes into the family. So if you and your partner are struggling, not feeling as close, or perhaps having a bit more tension and conflict, know that you're not alone, but also don't just sort of leave it that, oh, well, it'll get better in time. You need to nurture your relationship just like you're going to nurture your new baby and nurture your baby to promote their good growth development. Your relationships needs the same kind of attention. And although your dependent little baby will be the priority for your attention, we want to make sure that there is some energy and attention going into your relationship so that you don't fall into that category of couples who sadly don't do well after having a baby, and some may even lead to real disconnection in the relationship and eventual separation. And that would be so heartbreaking. And the good news is that there are things you can do to avoid that possibility. So let's go over some of those things that will help your relationship so that you don't fight so much and that you actually feel closer. And those things are doable. So first off, this might seem kind of counterintuitive in terms of how to enhance your relationship, but you need to take time off. And what I mean by that is you need to take time off of parenting, and you need to take time off of any other kind of household duties or responsibilities. So this is an opportunity for each of you to be able to step away and take some time for yourself to do something that is enjoyable, relaxing, or fulfilling to you in some way as an individual person. When we take care of those important individual needs, it gives us more energy and more opportunity to want to invest in our relationship. So the reality is that we cannot pour from an empty cup. So if you're giving all day to a baby, to the household demands and responsibilities, naturally there's going to be nothing left over for your couple relationship. However, if you are filling yourself up individually as a person, then there's a little bit more to be able to give energy and attention to not only the baby, but also your relationship. So creating the opportunity for you each to get some time away, to be time or to have time where you're off duty from parenting and other household responsibilities. So taking time off is the first one. And of course, if you can take time off individually, and if you have additional help and support where you can actually then take some time off together as a couple, that's an added bonus. But if we can only do one, I would encourage you first to prioritize the taking time off for you individually each, because that will then spin out into having more energy to put into your relationship. Okay, so strategy number two may seem like a hard one, especially for moms who maybe are extremely exhausted and their body has gone through a lot of change. But the second issue to kind of put some energy and attention to is to get sex and or physical closeness back on the radar of your relationship. It is so easy for women to be all consumed with the demands of mothering. And let's be real, it is super demanding. And it's very natural to have that be our only focus. However, we need to remember that our partners haven't probably gone through the same chemical and hormonal changes that we have, and their sex drive is probably still humming along at pretty much the normal rate. And certainly for moms in sleep deprived states, sex drive usually is non-existent, or if it is existent, it's usually quite low or much lower than what it would have been pre-baby. So I'm not suggesting that this needs to be something that's happening daily, but in the early days and weeks of having a new baby in the family, it's important to just even have some physical touch. So to hug and to kiss and to hold hands. So there may not be actual sexual intercourse happening in those early weeks, but we want to keep some physical touch because let's face it, that is the one part of your relationship that is unique and special. You can have close, good relationships with other people, but that intimate touch and that intimate connection is something that's reserved only for your partner. So we want to identify and remember that there is something unique about this relationship, and we want to put a little energy and attention there, even if it's only through some non-sexual touching in the early days and weeks. And as moms recover physically and they find their way to kind of getting a new rhythm, it is important to get sex back on the radar. And again, there's going to need to be communication to talk about what that's going to look like, because it's probably going to look different. For many women, there's fears around, will it hurt? How is it going to feel? There can be concerns around, am I still attractive in the eyes of my partner because my body's changed? If you're breastfeeding, there can be concerns about how is that going to impact our sexual relationship, and what am I going to do with these leaky breasts during sex? So there's a lot of new issues that are real and legitimate, but we want to be able to foster a place where you guys can talk about those things together and then figure out a way to slowly move back towards having a sexual connection again in your relationship. And it's okay for it to go slow. It's okay for it to look a little different, but we want to at least have a plan that we're moving towards that. So again, just making space to get that back on the radar. And quite honestly, many of the couples that I work with where there is a new baby in the family, their sexual drives can be quite different. So for men, they might be quite happy to be having sex a couple of times a week. And for women, they're like, if I can sleep, I would rather sleep. And if I never have sex again, then I'm okay with that. However, if you want to recognize the importance of this in your relationship, many couples, although it may not sound very romantic, will make a date for sex because they want to communicate to their partner that it is important and they're willing to invest time and energy in it. And it may be like a set kind of day and time during the week when it happens, but it signifies that it is a priority. So for couples who do have very differing sex drives, most couples are kind of landing on maybe once a week to have sex, or maybe once every 10 days, or maybe once every 2 weeks at the outside. But it's recognizing the importance of this special part of your relationship and figuring out together as a couple what makes sense for you guys. But it's easy to just ignore it. It's easy to just let it fall off the radar. And then it can become this weird, uncomfortable thing of then how do we get it back? So if the communication can stay open and you guys can continue to talk about where you're at and what your needs are and how you're going to move forward, then you avoid that sort of awkward place of just feeling like roommates. And the last tip for today is one that's really important. It's easy to do, but it's also easy to neglect. And that is to be emotionally present and available. And what I mean by that is to pay attention when we're talking to each other. It is so easy to be multitasking because that's just the new landscape of life with a baby, or if you have more than one child. And it's very easy to, have conversations with our partners, and really they're getting a fraction of our attention. And it's not to say every conversation has to be full on emotionally present and available, but certainly it bears consideration that the more you can be emotionally present and available for conversations, the more connected you're going to feel. And that can be as simple as just putting your phone down, turning away from the screen, giving your partner your undivided attention, looking them in the eyes when they're talking to you. These are very simple things, very easy to do, but it's also easy to not do them. And then the relationship can suffer from a lack of connection because of the absence of this emotional presence and being attuned to each other. So I encourage you to think about giving your partner that undivided attention when they are speaking to you. And also recognize the other pieces of emotional presence and being emotionally available is letting your partner know they're special, letting your partner know that they matter to you, letting your partner know how much they mean to you. Those are important ways of maintaining that emotional connection. And certainly if we're not having as much sex as we might have once had, this emotional connection becomes even more important. So again, 3 tips to help you keep connected, to reduce the conflict and reduce the tension in your relationship. And to recap, take time off alone, get sex and physical closeness and contact back on the radar, and be emotionally present and available. I hope you're finding these tips helpful. Feel free to like this video and feel free to share it with other friends or family who are in this stage of raising babies who may also benefit. I'll look forward to being with you next time.